Way too much fun here.
Yeah, we are. Okay, so we're 2 minutes late because we're goofy, but
What
so
is
what's
going
happening?
on?
Right, yeah. So what's happening today is we, as you can see here at on the bottom of the screen, we've got the title for today's just discussion that we're going to have. It's not scripted. This is the only banner that I've got for this right now. But we're going to talk about something that's kind of caused a little bit of a stir. Although to be fair, Joe had no idea what I was talking about because he's in sales and he's like, I don't know what y'all are talking about. But there's been a bit of a stir in a lot of marketing circles, marketing Facebook groups, and people are having these discussions, especially as it lines up with ethical marketing and the best ways for us to market moving forward. So there's the title, 2 emails to 100K. And it sounds great, right? Like, hey, pick me. I'm totally down for that. But this alludes to an Amy Porterfield ad that people screenshotted and started sharing in a bunch of Facebook groups. And this is her. It was the difference between her above the fold copy versus the below the fold copy, and you could tell that some people hadn't read the below the fold copy either. And so we're going to talk about this, and I've got it and I'll show it on the screen so everybody can see. We're going to talk about it, just assess kind of the situation there, but then kind of expand the conversation to explore things like our personal, like I guess our professional responsibilities as service providers, consultants, coaches, whatever, versus, kind of the responsibilities that anybody as a consumer, right? Like as a business consumer, as a personal consumer, where their responsibilities lie. So, but first, we're going to take a quick second and we're going to introduce everybody. So, I already said Joe's name. So, Joe, you go first.
Hi, my name is Joe. I'm the CEO and head sales trainer at Insights and Outreach. We essentially work with agencies and coaches to help staff train and build and scale their sales teams. Simply put.
Simply put, I like it. All right, Tara, you go.
Hi, I'm Tara Salbeck, and I am a digital marketing strategist and a sales funnel builder.
Yes.
Awesome.
And Humaira.
Hello, everyone. Okay, super excited. I am a personal brand strategist. I essentially work with coaches, conscious coaches, creators, and professionals, founders who are looking to build a personal brand with their true self-expression. So that's essentially what I do. So thank you.
Awesome. Hearts all the way around. And I am Ruthie Bowles. Defy the Status Quo is my company, and we focus on authentic marketing and developing an authentic brand and expressing that through video. So if you are watching, you've got any questions as we're talking, as we go through this discussion, be sure to drop them in the chat. We are watching the chat wherever you are. And let's take a look at it. Let's get into it. So let's see what happens. Oh, it just shows up right in the middle of the screen. I like that.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
Right. Yeah, I wasn't
It's
sure.
not blocking our faces or anything.
Oh, this is the ad.
Yeah.
It is the ad. And when I just do these by myself, it always shows up like right in my face. So I just lean off to the side usually. But yeah, okay. So there it is. This is like the above fold copy. So for anybody who's maybe more listening than watching, what I've got on the screen now is Amy Porterfield's ad. And so it says 2 emails, 2 emails. That's all it took to create an extra 100K of revenue in my business recently. Long story short, I created a product and it's the first new offer I've sold in the last couple years. That's all you can see before you click read more. And this, I think, largely is the part that upset everybody. But
it's definitely got the hook. Yeah. Whether you agree positive or negative, it's definitely a really great hook for someone who, if they're just in their first year of business or if they're just starting out, like, wow, that can I really ramp that up like that quickly? If it happened for Sally, it must happen for me, right? There's a lot of that assumption that goes on in our minds. So Sorry.
No,
I started jumping on there right away.
No, jump on.
Yeah.
Jump on. No, I like it.
I think even just to jump on what Humaira said, you do have to take into account who's this written for, right? So coaches who are a little bit more experienced, or even business owners a little bit more experienced, can what was the first thing I told you, Ruthie? I was like, that's really good copy. Like, that's a great hook. I have no problem admitting that. But take into account who's it written for, whether they're newer coaches or older coaches. I think newer coaches will bite on that a lot easier. More experienced business owners will say, okay, cool, hit the more button, try and get a little bit more detail on it. That's at least my take on it.
I like it.
Right.
What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not real familiar with Amy, so I don't know who her target audience is. But
she helps people build their email list. She's got a couple of different inroads, because I think she also has she also speaks to the create a course people. But one of the big things, I think probably the biggest thing she's known for, is email list building. And so she's got a course and a whole funnel and stuff around that. And I mean, to be fair, I'm not subscribed to her. I think I was at one point, but I actually just recently checked out a review of her email marketing, and shit looks on point. I'm gonna be real. So
even knowing that makes the hook a lot better. The fact that that's her main driver, that makes a lot more sense in my eyes.
Yeah. But okay, so look, now we're gonna act like we just hit read more and see at least more of it. I don't think I got the whole thing, but we'll take a look more of it. So real quick, it says revenue grew 50%, 100K from the first week, and the only difference, 2 emails. I know you've heard me talk about emails before, but I had to share this recent experience with you because it proves once again that email always wins the day. And yes, I know building an email list can feel confusing and move at a snail's pace some days. I hear you. In year 1 of my business, I had 300 people on my list. By year 2, I had grown that list to 600 amazing community members. But the growth felt slow, and I didn't know exactly how to speed it up until I did. Now, 12 years later, and a whole lot of focus on list building, I have hundreds of thousands of warm leads. That's why just a few short weeks ago, it was super easy to sell my new product and bring in a quick revenue boost. And I want that for you too. So that's what happens when you click read more. I mean, there's probably a bit more beyond that, but.
So for me reading this, I feel like it's her, really proving the point that email is, king, and you need to have an email list, and that's something you always own, and you can market to that. And she's showing you the power of having a large email list, and why you should sign up with her if that's what she's teaching you, is how to grow your email list. And she does go into the fact, she does go into the explanation of how this wasn't an overnight, I just sent my first 2 emails ever and made $100,000. She's talking about years of work it took her to get to this point, which you hope, if anybody reads even just the hook, that their mind is thinking wow, how did she get there? $100,000? Is she a brand new business owner? And that's kind of where you mentioned earlier, the responsibility of us as consumers is to do your own due diligence and, kind of look into it a little bit. And I guess maybe for some people it's believable that it's $100,000 in 2 emails. And maybe there are people that would think oh, that's the first 2 emails she ever sent. I don't know, but
it definitely peaks it check marks all the right things, like curiosity, right? Hook, the usual thing that we know as marketers, understand what goes after it, right? The challenge here is that we're fast forwarding 12 years of personal development somebody just went through. We have not seen the sleepless nights. We have not seen the launch failures. We have not heard about, are there emails that didn't go right? That failed completely. And it has probably caused her anxiety and things like that, right? And we don't see any of that. And and yes, maybe she talks about it in her podcast, and she is quite vulnerable. In fact, I've heard a few of her podcasts where she started opening up more and more. So I think that the bigger creators, influencer of her type, are starting to realize that people want to hear that more. They don't want to hear that how you've made it to 100K overnight. I think people are catching up to that. We understand that it doesn't take you 100K overnight. What we need to be careful about is that how do we construct this in a way that we're not fast forwarding somebody's growth, that we haven't allowed them to go through that personal transformation yet. It takes a lot.
Yeah, I have actually something to piggyback on that. I study Alex Hormozy a lot, and I was listening to one of the podcasts he was on recently. And for those that don't know, when he first started doing his gym launch stuff, the Gym Lords, he would fly out to gyms and like go there, sell for them, and work that way. So he was talking about on the podcast, he got asked on another podcast, how do you shortcut the, 4 to 8 years of the travel, all this stuff? And he just looked at it. He's like, you can't. He's like, there's just too much that goes on during that time that you won't have the necessary skills to get to where you want to go. So the reason I'm where I am is because I went through the years of travel, the years of experience. That's what grew, like Humara said, as a person, the personal experience, the things that didn't work. Like that's one of the things with entrepreneurship is like you always, in order to find out what works, you find out what doesn't work first, in my opinion. And that's one thing that just stuck with me.
Love that.
So I think the other thing to consider, right, where we're talking about is like 12 years of growth, like she's got hundreds of thousands of people on the email list. That's not the only difference between her and anybody else. Like that's not the only difference, because there's also like the fulfillment side of things. We all know, right? She's got to have like a sales team and all of these other things set up. So I think that's the other implication here, is that even I love about the ad that once I click, in theory, I click read more. I love that I would see, okay, like, look, this took me years. Look at me year 1, look at me year 2. And now look at where I am with these hundreds of thousands of people. The only other thing is kind of that those are all things outside of email that would then contribute to her success. Now, I'm not saying she's got to list all of those things in an ad, of course, but I think that that's just something for everyone to keep in mind as we're consuming this, as we're taking this in, and we're painting the dream where we too can one day, right, like get to that many subscribers. I think that that's the other thing for us to consider. And another thing for people when they're kind of creating these ads to consider, and this was one of the reasons why I was really hoping Joe was going to be able to be on, because he's like, yes, ethical selling. And these are discussions that Joe and I have had in the past. But it's like, if you're running ads, and you have a strong sales process, a process where like your salespeople will say, hey, yeah, we think that you'd be a good fit, versus no, we don't think you'd be a good fit. I think that can actually add to the ethics of your marketing, because you actually have a gate to keep unqualified people from entering willy-nilly. Now, maybe not for like a digital product that's, not super expensive, but definitely for high-end stuff that could really put people out if they end up in your program and they really shouldn't be there. And that was one of the reasons I had Joe, because I think the whole process, and we talked about this, but the whole process, when everything looks at it from a point of ethics and morals, I guess the sum of it is greater than the parts, if you will. You can't have ethical marketing and then unethical sales, right? So,
yep. And I think the good copy, just to speak to even the sales process, is the good copy is the first initial step that they take. But as you go through that process, especially as they get to a sales process, if it's going to end up to a higher ticket item, you have to have that filter in place. Your salespeople are the coffee filter, and so to speak. So in order for you to get people who are actually going to do well through the program, your marketing and your sales process do have to be congruent in the ethics that go on. So to be able to say like, hey, you're not a good fit here, or you are a good fit. Certain qualifications that she may have in place that we obviously don't know of, but she might have like, hey, in order for you to sign up for this program, you need 1,000 people on your email list or things like that. Certain qualifiers that place people into the program, and also, more importantly, take the people who won't succeed, I should say, or won't do as well, and keep them out of the program. And that also is as powerful as taking them into the program, in my opinion.
Do we know this ad? I didn't ever click the link on the ad, but is this to a high ticket program, or is this do
Honestly,
Could
honestly,
be
I
a course.
don't know.
Could be,
Okay.
yeah.
I think the way she typically sets things up is like add to some type of free master class, or like free, it's really like a course or whatever.
Training
and it
or
leads
something.
into other
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Right.
But we have a comment. Unless Humaira, you had another.
No, I was just gonna, Joe talked about something that just was running in my head, that, you know, that filtration process, that vetting process of the clients who are the right fit. I feel that is something that, you know, even at that level, people can improve upon. Like, just because you have, you know, this offer doesn't mean it's going to, even like at a basic level, someone who's just getting started as a coach, you have to be careful, because that person who's just in their 1 year of business in the new growth, have this tendency of like, okay, well, if they've done it, this must be possible for me. You know, why can't I do it? You know, you see hundreds and hundreds of testimonials, and it's easy to get into this trap of like, if it happened for Sally, it must happen for me, right? So we've all been through those type of programs, right? Seeing hundreds of testimonials. Just saying. You know.
But I think there is a balance, because I feel like you do need to give people hope and motivation that they can do it, but there's this line where it's like, where is the line? And this is something that I've talked about on some other chats, is, you know, where is the line for the responsibility of us as marketers versus the responsibility of others as consumers, and who decides where those boundaries are? Like, you know, is her ad for $100,000 with 2 emails, you know, it's a great hook. It's bringing people in. I personally don't see anything wrong with how she worded that whole ad. I think Ruthie is frozen.
I was frozen.
Uh-oh.
I was
okay.
frozen.
No,
My husband went and got a COVID booster last night, and so he's not at work. And I have a good feeling I know where he is on his super powerful gaming computer, sucking up all my internet juice.
There you go. There you go.
But it's sorry, I've totally lost my train of thought.
I am sorry.
You know, just that.
This ad might even not be written by her.
I'm sure it's not.
It's somebody else wrote it.
Yeah.
Right.
But my point is that where is the line on this responsibility of, you know, what we as marketers are responsible for, and how to keep things ethical. And, you know, when you guys were talking about, like, whether it's newer coaches that are coming into her program, or people that have been around the block a time or two. But you hear, I mean, I've done it myself and complained about programs that I've joined, and how, you know, they didn't do this, or they didn't do that, or it was targeting maybe the wrong people. But I always ask the question of how deep should they go with what they're offering you? Because every person that joins their program is going to be in a little bit of a different space and maybe needs different things.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I feel like when you have conversations with different people, you can argue the line to be in different places depending on who you're talking to and what the situation is.
I think the tricky part is, though, if you're a new business, you're a new entrepreneur, sometimes you don't even know what are the questions, what are even the right questions to ask, right? You're so new into the game that it's really hard to even fathom that, like you said, people need hope. And, that kind of hope is someone who's, left a job that they hate, and they're trying to make of something what they know, and being, with the expertise that they already have, is something that, they're looking for that kind of help, right? But it's then what you just said, that it's the marketer's responsibility to really understand, like, look, hey, I think what's best for you is that you don't start this program yet. I have something else for you that might be, it's that serving mentality.
Yeah.
And not putting everybody into a bucket. And that's where I was experiencing even in my early days, that like, oh yeah, you'd be a great fit. Yeah, just come on board. I think you'd make an excellent fit.
All right,
There's no yeah, I see that your comments are clogging up there. But anyway, yeah, so I was just going to say that I think there is a responsibility on both ends, but also this is why we're doing this live, so we can bring that kind of awareness, right? So
yes. So before I click on the first comment, so we can all check it out and kind of address what's there, because I think it's a great point. That is really the big reason behind a lot of my individual content. The big reason I wanted to have this discussion here with you all is that I think with awareness, even a new business owner can better, in some cases, better protect themselves from predatory techniques and predatory professionals, but also just make informed decisions. Because, for example, like when I'm ready, right, to build my sales team, I'm like, boom, I'm going to call Joe. However, I know as a business owner, and of course, just by talking to Joe, that I'm not quite at that point yet. Right. And so that's an informed decision that I'm able to make. But just imagine the number of predatory companies that would be like, oh, yeah, we could totally help you grow. Like, oh, yeah, you're a great fit.
Yeah.
Right.
How much money have we all lost in those kind of situations? I don't even want to think about it.
We could probably buy a whole house in Maryland, or down in Northern Virginia. Buy an island. Yeah. All right. So look, C from LinkedIn, she said, there's such rampant misdirection about this. She's a 30-year business strategy expert, and her competition is DOOs with 3-month training and a great sales page.
Yes.
Right? Like, we know,
that sounds about right.
There's so many coaches and consultants out there that are all marketing and no juice.
A lot of good marketers without substance.
Yeah, no substance.
I love that. Without substance.
Yeah, great marketing, no substance. We know what that feels like. And I think that that's a valid point too, is a lot of times we get taken in by great marketing, right? Even as consumers, like from your personal side of consumption as an individual, or even looking at the business, right? Like how, like that's, I think, always been key in especially this industry that we're looking at with like the services, is that the marketing is so good, and then they make money, which then proves that they're good, when in fact the people going through their services or going through programs or whatever, it's not given what it was supposed to have gave.
Well, and then you get the really good marketing coupled with the like urgency, where the doors are going to close, or, this offer is good. So you don't even really have time to do your due diligence and look into them and get more information about what exactly, because, they've got you so excited about what they're offering and it sounds so great. And you're like, oh shit, I've got to like buy it right now, because it's going to be gone tomorrow, it's expiring. And I mean, even as a marketer, I've been suckered into those things. Like, I am definitely a sucker for good marketing and, shiny object syndrome. And I can literally read the ad or see the offer, and I'm like picking it apart, like from a marketer's perspective, but still I'm sucked in because it sounds so good. It's still hard to say no. So when you don't even, if you're not in marketing, you probably don't even realize some of those things are happening in your mind, and that the psychological and the emotional pull that it has.
Mm-hmm.
but I wonder, how do, I'm curious if you guys have suggestions on how to advise somebody who is newer, who, what should they look for? What should they do to they should do their own vetting, make sure that they are getting into a program that's right for them, because you can't rely on the marketer to be honest with you about whether you're really right for the program, because unfortunately there are too many out there who everybody is right for the program, no matter what it is.
Right.
I think sorry, Ruthie, you were going to say something.
I was just going to say, I think it depends on the length of the relationship too. Right.
Sure.
So for example, just real quick, another story. I was just on the phone, what was it, like last week, with Tara, talking like, hey, like, what can we do for my funnel? What can we do for my processes? Right. And because of the length of relationship and the fact that I know Tara knows what she's talking about, when she was like, hey, so these are the things that I'd recommend you take a look at in terms of what we could do working together. And I'm like, cool, bet. Guess what? I did not go look at any other funnel builders, no other digital marketing strategists. Tara told me this thing. I trust her. That's cool. And if Tara started running ads, okay, I believe Tara's ads, because the length of our relationship has built a certain amount of know, like, and trust. So that would be the only caveat I would add in terms of being able to trust your marketers. Because I would say at least half the calls that I get on, I'm like, hey, so we're not actually a good fit. And I've had people be legit disappointed. Like, really? I'm like, yeah, it'd have been so easy to sign them. So I think that's the other thing as professionals, that we cultivate a space where people can, get to know us and trust us and stuff. But like, just off the jump, you don't know who they are. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, here's the thing though. I think it makes a difference. Again, it's challenging when somebody like Amy Porterfield, who has a lot of credibility in the market, right? Like she is known. She's not like, who's who, Myra, personal brand strategist, like, who is that? But, there's that level, there's that adds to the credibility. And then you're like, must be good, must be legit, right? And I'm not saying that it's not legit or anything. It just makes it difficult for decisions. So Tara, previously what you mentioned, what suggestion you have in terms of that? I think that if there was a self-awareness course, that's what I would take as someone. The more you can get into the deeper insights of who you are and understand what you are capable of, I think you can make better decisions, right? Informed decisions, because you have those awareness checks built into your system. Because I think we're so reactive. We live in a reactive society. We see something, we scroll social media, it's all trigger. Everything is triggering. And we have kind of lost with that, like, okay, what's triggering my behavior? Is this something that is that connected to my values? Is this what I really want? Is this connected to where I'm going? I might not even need this email list building thing right now. Maybe what I need to understand is take a personal development course, right? And that is the level of self-awareness that we need to have. Every single one of us. It doesn't matter where you are in your business.
Go ahead, Tara. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. That was something I was going to say too, was especially asking yourself in the moment, before you make a decision on a new course or a new offer or product or whatever it is, and ask yourself, especially in business, is this something that I am going to use right now in my business? Like, am I going to start working on building my email list right now? I don't know what she's laughing at.
I'm laughing at you. Well, I'm laughing at my memories. I'm laughing at my memories where I was like, I'm totally going to use this. Never. Like,
okay.
Right? Information junkie over here.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because we've all been there and done that. You buy something that your business, that your business is not ready for that at that moment. You know it, but it sounds so good to be true that you're like, I can't pass this up, and I'm going to put it on the shelf and I'll get to it in like 2 months, and then you never look at it again. So for me personally, that's been a really good filter for myself, is to really just ask myself, like, does my business need this right now? Am I going to put this into action, immediately, or at least within like the next week or two? Otherwise, it can wait. The offer is going to be back around, next year when they offer it again, or whenever it is. And even people that are newer in business can keep that in mind and just take it, one step at a time. And you can't work on 10 different courses at the same time either. So,
a lot of people try and put the cart before the horse. And I've done that before too. I've bought like little product, like a 100 pack of SOPs that I've never used. Like I have a folder in my drive, bought but not ready for. So like all of the things, like little ticket items, little books and stuff, courses, trainings and stuff, all go into this folder. It's a thick folder. And I've only like recently gotten away from like not rushing to do it. As I also love, I love funnels. I love studying copy. So I'll go into people's funnels to purchase and stuff. But to go back to what we said before about the consumer side, Humaira touched on a very good point of the self-awareness piece. It's actually very odd that it came up, because I've been thoroughly into my team about studying psycho-cybernetics, Bob Proctor, Think and Grow Rich, all of these other things that educate them more on self-awareness, because we talk a lot about proprioception and situational awareness in sales. There's a lot more to it than just what's in front of you. So when you get more of that understanding, and much like Tara said, like, do I need this yet? Probably not. Like no one really takes a second to look and say like, okay, cool. Here's this thing. This is where I'm at in the business. Not going to use it yet. And I'm also a victim to that too. Like I said, I have Facebook ad SOPs and we haven't run ads yet. So like, just not prepared yet. But it happens with most people when you're not situationally aware of like, where you are in the business, right? Like for email list building, that's where we're at right now. But most like new coaches don't really need an email list right away, because it's just going to be a waste of time. Then you're going to have a funnel on the back end, and you're going to have additional costs that really don't make any sense.
You don't need order bumps, upsells and all those crazy things.
You fall into such a slippery slope too, because you people say like, oh, get a funnel up. Like, okay, then you got to worry about design, and you got to worry about copy, imagery, what the next step is, what the nurture sequence is. There's a lot more to it than what people lead on for.
There's a lot more. Yes.
Oh, geez. Okay. So I want to address Amy's comment, because Amy was like, look, so Amy and I went live yesterday on Instagram, and we were kind of talking about some of this, but I'm going to read it real quick. And then I want to get y'all's take on it. Although for you, Joe, this is actually a little different, because you are legit like a sales agency. So this is a little different for you. But Allison says, Amy's ad would look very different if money was taken out of the copy and instead student accomplishment was the hook. When this money hook happens in personal development, it feels out of place to me, because the real value is in student outcomes. But since people resonate with the idea of fast money, it is a quote unquote good hook. Ironically, money success is starting to fall apart in personal development.
Boom. Wonderful. That's a great comment right there. Great addition.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
The level of success definition has changed for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's moving away from financial gain for the most part. At least
I like what that it's a big point. And I think this kind of goes back to what I was saying before about how Amy's got, all of these systems and processes and team members and all of this stuff, right, built up around the fact that email is one of her really big channels, besides the fact the topic of email, but also email is one of her main revenues or avenues for making revenue. But if she was focusing on like student accomplishment, or, hey, people in the beta of this new program that I launched were, getting this much or whatever, and focusing on the student accomplishment, then that actually probably speaks better to her target audience's possible experience or potential for results, while not necessarily, going with that particular money side of things, because she's email marketing. And can email marketing tie to revenue increases? Sure. But when we're looking more at direct links, I think that definitely helps. I don't use money hooks in my business, but I'm in brand development, like Humaira's in brand development, so it just doesn't make sense for us. But Joe, it might make more sense for you.
Money. Yeah. Right.
Well, and it might make even more sense for Tara, because Tara does sales funnels. So I would be interested in y'all's take on that.
Ooh.
Tara, you want to go first?
I was going to comment on something else, so go ahead.
I was actually looking down because you gave me an idea for an email campaign.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
when it comes to like money marketing, it depends on the type of people you're trying to pull in. So for us, like one of my biggest things is like, you're not coming in to scale to 7 figures. You're coming in to be more of a CEO in your business. Like instead of working inside of the business, you're working on the business. And we have one of our clients, actually, they just became a 6-figure company. We were closing deals. I think we closed 3,600 or 5,600 while he was in Mexico. He was at an agency retreat and was in Mexico, and we were closing deals for him. Like that's the stuff I highlight because those are the people I want in my business. I don't want people to come in, and we've had people come in who are like, oh, I just want, my revenue department, you guys take it, put a setter, put a closer. I don't even want to look at it. And then it doesn't work for most people. So it really depends on who you're trying to pull in my opinion. Because there are certain ones who do similar things to us who don't speak about the money. And those are people like I connect with more. And those are more people that are like, hey, we're here to make this a better business for you, not just a better financial source for you. And that's kind of where I look at things. So money hooks, do they work? Yes. We have a couple of 6-figure companies we work with. I don't really boast that often, but the email campaign idea is I never even sent my list the fact that we closed deals while my client was in Mexico. So like
score,
that's going to be something that in my opinion will go fairly well, but I'm not crazy about money hooks, to be honest.
And that is from a sales agency. Love it.
Yeah. It's
and I think that's going to depend on
that before.
The agency and the marketer as well. I mean, for me, I'm very impact driven, and those are the kind of people that I want to work with as well. So that's, when I put my messaging out there, it's very much about my mission and the impact I want to make, the impact I want to help you make. And every client that I work with is also very impact driven. They have a greater mission that they're trying to, make a big impact on this, whoever their target audience is. I mean, obviously, in the big grand scheme of things, we're all here to make money as well, but that's not the driving force behind what I do. So that's not going to be the driving force behind my clients either, because those are just the people that I choose to work with.
I've been driven by the money thing before. So one of the reasons why I look at things the way I look at, Ruthie likes this story. My first business venture, when I started my career, I was in finance. So like, that's all I really knew. Like money was the only thing that I virtually cared about. And it was a fucking nightmare for a few years. And when I started my own business, it was very much so money driven. How much money can I make? What do I need to do? Like, what do I need to sell? These are my expenses. This is what I need to cover. And I started my company as more like financial consulting. And I've been in sales for 10 years and just didn't lean into the fact that I was like, oh, sales is like actually helping people. And like, I only looked at it as like a money thing. And I was like, oh, okay. So I had a real, Ruthie, what was that earlier this year? My revelation where I was just like, oh, fuck, like the money goal always gets bigger. And it always, it's definitely something to have. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not a bad thing, but it comes strictly as a byproduct to the service that you provide. So not being driven by money anymore is a lot more fun in my life, because when, we want 10K months, we hit 10K months. Okay, cool. We want 20K months. We hit 20K months. Now we want 50. Then we're at 50. We want 100. So it's always going to move. And it's good to have those goals, like I said, but we look for more like people we're going to help and like things that we're going to do. And then that will obviously come, the money will come as a byproduct there. So being driven by money, in my opinion, is a quick path to burnout, because I was burnt the fuck out. And now like I actually care about, well, not to say I didn't care about it before, but my main focus is client delivery, client success. And it's a lot more fun than worrying about, okay, cool, where's the next $2,000 coming from, kind of thing. In my opinion.
I've been talking about this more with like clients, and then just like some like business friends have mentioned it. I recorded a podcast episode yesterday where I mentioned it, but I've been talking more about like revenue as a result. And so putting those impact type of goals first. And it's like, okay, if you are able to have this level of impact, what are your KPIs? Revenue being one of those KPIs, right? Versus revenue being the main goal, and like, oh, what do our KPIs have to be to hit revenue? Make revenue a secondary part. Like, again, like Joe said, and Tara, you said it too, like we all, like we make money because that's part of how we exist, right? And we move and we continue to grow. But if revenue is a result of the impact that you're having, what would your revenue numbers look like based on the results that you're actually getting? And we are rolling up, like, this time is just flying by, but a question came to mind that I wanted to ask y'all, because again, we're talking about responsibility and stuff. And a lot of us all of us work with businesses, right? We are businesses who work with other businesses most of the time. How much of a responsibility do you feel like you have in terms of working with people who are also ethical? Like, not just great marketing and no substance. How much of a responsibility do you think that you have there?
I don't know if it's a responsibility, but a choice that I wouldn't choose to work with anyone who was doing things that were unethical. So
you just got muted somehow.
I accidentally hit the button. Sorry.
Okay.
For me, that's just a conscious choice that, kind of like you guys said before, you need to be vetting the people that you're bringing in to work with you as well. And if I don't believe that they have the same values as me and, believe in ethical marketing practices, then they're probably not going to be the client for me, because I'm not going to do the things for them that they might want me to do. And I'm about working with people that are ethical and looking to make a difference and make an impact. So for me, that's very much a choice.
I think it as we start talking more about this kind of stuff, it's also that conscious driving force, that maybe it's an awareness that maybe a lot of people don't have. It's just when you start a business, like you said, Joe, you were in a financial, like, I got to make money mode, and that's where 99% people are in that mode. I'm sorry, but that's the truth,
Yeah, very much so.
Because you're in a business to make money. And I've had so many arguments, so many these type of conversations with a lot of people where it's like, yeah, why do you exist beyond money? Can you tell me that answer? Why do you exist beyond money? And 99% of people can't answer that.
Yep.
So it goes back to the fact that, I think that initially we start for that financial gain, but as we realize that, it could be even with your job, your career and everything, that you could be making 6-7 figures, and you realize, what does it end up doing? The impact that you're having. And I don't know, I think it's going to come down to that conscious level awareness of just really, what is it that you really want? Just having that awareness.
Wholeheartedly agree with everything that was just said. I'm going to speak to the other side of the fence after you close people. When you make a choice to work with these ethical businesses, the businesses that, you like, for us, right? Like, we're literally by definition an ethical sales agency. So like, for us, we don't want people who are unethical, but when it does come through, when people are very much so money driven, they don't really care about the people that they work with, just the dollar sign that the person represents. It becomes more so of an energy sink. Like, we've cut, I think, like 2, 3, 4 clients that were just like not good fits for our program. Really the best way I would say that. Just because there wasn't a good vibe. But I could tell you that my anxiety would never been higher. It was just a nightmare to deal with these people. Name would pop up on my phone. I would just be like, oh, fuck, flip the phone over. Don't want to look at it. Messages would come in. I don't want to answer them. But that's not the way I run my business. That's not the way I want to run my business. I want to enjoy the people I work with. And I do. Like, the client roster we have now is amazing. I don't ever want them to leave. So for us, it's really a big fact of like the client delivery side of like, okay, do you want to spend time hating who you work with? Not really, especially in coaching too. Like, Ruthie, we were talking about this earlier. Like, I really enjoy coaching salespeople. I don't enjoy coaching businesses. So like, I coach my sales team. I don't coach businesses anymore. So like, because we provide more of a service. So for us, it's just like, having a connection with someone who also understands the mission we're on, and it reflects both ways, if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah, but Joe, can I just add something there that, you know, if those people weren't clear on their mission, you would have a problem delivering that as well, right?
Absolutely.
And what I see is that, you know, the problem that I see in the landscape is that we're doing step 5 when we haven't even done 0.005 yet.
Yep.
You know, and we're jumping the gun. We're just like, you know, we just want to fast forward everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going like, you haven't even built the foundation yet. And you're going after people, you know, going to work with you, Joe, and making your life a lot, you know, hopefully not harder than it is, you know.
There's been a few of them.
Right?
The biggest thing we focus on, even in our VSL, is we call it PEP, which is process, execution, people. So for
and
everyone,
what's VSL for those that don't know, real quick?
I'm sorry.
What's VSL for those that don't know?
Video
real
sales
quick?
letter. I apologize.
There we go.
Through a funnel, much like what Tara does. So we focus on PEP, which is process, execution, people. So the people part of it is always the last part. So whenever someone comes through, we always make sure that they have a good process in place. It's able to be executed. There at least are some SOPs that we can follow, and then you can plug the people in. But it's all, like you said, Amira, is like it's all a foundational piece. Because I always tell my clients, too, like you can't build a house on quicksand or water because you won't have much of a house anymore. But if you have a steady foundation, I'm not a contractor, so I'm assuming it's concrete. If you have a steady foundation, you could build a bigger house. Skyscrapers are tall because they have deep basements and are strong. California redwoods are always my example. They have a deep unified root system. Meanwhile, I'm in New York, so the trees in Brooklyn that can be blown over by a wind don't have as deep of root systems. They don't have as deep of a foundation. So it's interesting to see.
Yeah, but there are people who would come to you, like Tara and Joe, to you before they've done the foundational work with people like us. You know, so they're skipping all of that and going like, I need the funnel, I need this, and then you put it together, and you're like, why is this not working? Why is this not connecting? Why is this not? And we've all done it. I'm completely, hey, we're all been there, right? But the least we could do as a responsible business owners is that put this out there that, you know, if you keep doing that kind of stuff where you're clicking on the ads when you haven't done this kind of bedrock thing, it's going to continue to keep you in that vicious cycle of loop that it just continues. It never ends. And like you said, by the time you check your account balance, your credit card, you can buy an island with that. You know, so just something to be aware of. I feel like Ruthie froze again. Ruthie, are you there?
I did briefly. I did briefly, I think.
I wanted to say something to that too. So for me personally, this is why I always start my clients out with a strategy session first, because we go through a whole lot of things, their messaging, their offer. And so that's kind of that checks and balances process it's for me to get to understand and dig deeper into their business, but it's also to make sure that they do have all of the things in place that they need before they start having a funnel built for them. But it's kind of funny because a lot of clients don't understand that and they want to skip that process. And they're like, no, I just want you to build a funnel for me. But 9 out of 10 times, they don't have all their shit together ready for a funnel to be built. And you need to figure that out first, because I don't want to build a funnel for you if you don't have all your stuff together, because it's going to be shit. It's not going to do anything. Like, you've got to have all these other things in place first.
Right.
But it's also that you have a lot of people that are out there, I guess, that are doing some unethical marketing, and they think like, oh, I can just have a funnel built, you know, in a day or two, and it's going to bring me in millions of dollars. And they don't understand all of the work that goes in, you know, that comes into play before the funnel is built. So I think it's like the battle of helping people to realize that there's more to it, and you can't just jump into it. And there are people out there that will just build you a funnel if you know, walk in their door and say, here, build me a funnel. But for me, I don't want to do that for you if it's not going to actually produce something for you. You know.
And I feel for those people. I'm telling you, because it's confusing, because you're getting mixed marketing messages all the time. Here's someone telling you that, yeah, you can do it in 2 days. And here the other people are saying, did you, do your due diligence? Like, who are you? Who are you even targeting? Are those even the right people? And what is your positioning and all that stuff, right? And without even, so skipping all of that and doing that, it's much easier, because nobody, it's, let's face it, it's hard work. It's hard work, right? So but in reality, it makes Joe's and Tara's job so much easier, right? If you have those people already in the bedrock solid foundation. And that's what we are dealing with. We're continuously seeing this in the industry. There's this disconnections, breaks happening all the time. And we could thrive so much better together if we kind of work together. It's like we're not really competing with anyone, really. Like, how can we collaborate more and more? How can we see each other as a partner? That's where I see headed.
I think it ties a little bit even to what Allison was talking about, like when we use those money hooks. And so we see them a lot, right? Like, get to 30K months in 90 days or whatever, 100K in 90 days, whatever the numbers are. And it puts an emphasis on speed, as if the speed of adoption of an idea is directly correlated to the validity of an idea. And we all know that that's absolutely not the case when you consider things like, the Wright brothers, like how many times they freaking crash, like, and all the time and stuff, and the inventions and things that people are working on, the concepts, right? Like, we're seeing finished products in wonderful books and movies, but how many iterations of that did they have to go through? How long did it take, right? But we have been on live for 52 minutes. So I want to wrap us. I know.
I had so much more to talk about.
I know.
This was supposed to be 20 minutes.
Look, I said 20 minutes minimum, but I already knew better. But I wanted to say, Claudia gave us some really awesome comments over on LinkedIn. And this is probably one of my favorite ones, because this is something I've talked about pretty at length with Humaira and some of the things that, like I said, we're plotting our ethical takeover. But Claudia told us, she said, ethical business choices are the key to our new economical culture change in this world. And this is the start. And I think, even this this discussion around exploring these lines. And just as a recap, I don't think any of us thought that Amy Porterfield's ad was unethical, at least on the surface, looking at the copy. I don't know what her back end is, since I didn't click on it or whatever, but at least the surface copy of that ad to me seemed fine. But what I do appreciate about it the most is the different conversations I saw popping up in different groups around what would be ethical. And I think for me, that served a great purpose. But speaking of groups where I saw this conversation pop up, one of those groups was Tara's group. And so we're going to take like 30 seconds ish to let you know what we're up to, and then we will hang up. So Tara, tell us about it.
So the group she's referring to is called Strategy Chats. It's a free Facebook group that anyone is welcome to join if you're an entrepreneur. And we just spend a lot of time in there talking about business strategy, marketing. Everybody that is in there is coming from an ethical marketing perspective. And we talk about pretty much anything business related goes. We have live Zoom calls twice a week, and there's a lot of conversations happening just in the posts and comments. So I'd love to see anybody there who wants to join.
Yeah, and I would have to say, just looking at it as a group member, I think for the number of people Tara has in there, it's got like way more comments than I've seen in groups like 10 or 15 times that size. So it's really engaged. Humaira, what do you got?
Okay, so I know we talked a lot about the foundational pieces, bedrocks and things like that. One of the things that we're trying to do is I have another strategic partner. We're helping businesses, and these could be coaches, they could be entrepreneurs that are just maybe in the startup phase, not really sure how to take their idea in the marketplace, is to really set the foundation. So what we're doing is a free brand alignment session. We'll sit down and take a look at your current vision, mission, everything, and how it all works together. So, and we'll give you feedback, we'll give you suggestion on where the areas that could be improved. So that's one of the things we're doing. So really excited about that.
Awesome. And I'll be dropping links and stuff, and I'll change the descriptions. That way anybody who comes across this later can easily access them. But Joe, what do you got going on?
I got a few things. Anything in regards to building, scaling, or really training a sales team. We have a few different areas. Insightsandoutreach.com is our landing page / VSL page. We have Ethical Sales for Agencies and Coaches, which is a Facebook group that we've been curating a little bit just to drop some trainings on building sales teams, scaling sales teams, even just improving your sales process. And also my Facebook page, Joe Man, is literally just Joe Man. It's a picture of me in a pineapple shirt. Drop comments, come drop me a message. If you're looking to build your sales team or even just get better sales training, hit me up. We definitely have some resources for you.
I might have someone for you, Joe.
Swing them my way.
Boom. All right. Well, so then that leaves me, and I'll be the last one. Big thing coming up, not next week, but the week after, November 9th and November 12th are opportunities to attend the one take technique workshop for authentic videos. So that's something I'm super excited about. With this being the first iteration, we're going to cap each session at 10 people. We'll see how that goes, and then kind of adjust fire. That's a phrase we use in the military, but we'll adjust fire based on actual results. So much like the Y workshop, it may go from 10 seats down to 5. It just depends on what provides the absolute best experience. So that is something I'm super excited about. And like I said, for everybody who's listening now, listening or watching later, I will go ahead and edit the description for the live stream and include the links from each of us. I really hope that we gave you a lot to think about, not just for yourself, but potentially for any clients you take on and any partners that you have. This discussion, and it is a discussion about ethical marketing and ethical business in general, does not end here. And I think it's a conversation we're going to be having for quite some time. And I think one of the other things that can be distilled from this conversation is that it's very business dependent. It's very you dependent. And so the answers to a lot of the questions that we were exploring largely depend on you. And there's no one person who's going to be able to give you the answers you need to build an ethical business that supports everyone as we continue to evolve and achieve greater and greater things. So just thank you so much for joining us today. And
Thank
our DMs
you.
are open, but not for any pitches.
Yeah, no pitches.
Or you'll
please.
get pitch slapped.
Right. Yeah. So just if you have questions and you want to, if you want to ask us any questions, feel free to, DM us or comment here, and we'll be keeping an eye on the questions and the questions and comments for, definitely moving forward. But thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.